All right, I got it. Hold on. I'm all frumpy. Give me a second.
Oh, we are so professional, guys.
I know. All right, let me
We
get
actually
my
didn't know we were
shot.
going to be talking about this. This is funny.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Booth. I'm Jade, and with me, as always, is my co-host and award-winning producer, Heather.
And on this channel, we talk about wild stories from Comic-Con vendors. And on today's episode, our topic is actually building your booth and like what kind of things you might need, especially if you're just starting out, because you just think, oh, I have a table, I'll put my stuff on it. It's actually a lot more than that. So let's get into it.
So for a lot of you that are applying for some of the booths, which we covered in another episode, that it might be a vendor booth, it might be an artist booth. Generally speaking, when you're starting out like I did, it was just me. So the first thing I had to consider is when I'm traveling, what can I physically take? Now, I know I look young, but I have a lot of issues with my joints and bones from being an extremely active athlete when I was younger. Now I'm a broken adult. So I had to look at what can I do to get this stuff where I need to without killing myself because I couldn't get like a mule or a Sherpa or anything to carry my shit.
I'm only so strong, guys.
Yeah. I don't think I'm that strong. I mean, I guess I am, but not for very long. I've got like sprints of strength. So when it came to a booth, you want to be able to display as much as you can. I had mentioned that I only do inline booths, generally speaking, because I'm not set up for an end cap. An end cap is coveted. It's a wonderful position to be in, but you need to use your like 360 to look amazing. And depending on the venue, sometimes they'll tell you things like your booth, your displays cannot face another vendor's displays. So they'll get really picky about it too. So one of the things that I use, and I don't actually know, Heather, you'll probably have to tell me what these are called in like real life, but they're the cubes that you disconnect and reconnect in the corners.
Yeah, they're like stacking cubes. A lot of people use them as like cubbies for, preschoolers, stuff like that. I use them actually in my kids' closets because they have so many freaking clothes.
All right. So one of the things that I use for my build is actually this type of situation. So on the back side, you can see that it has a fold to it. They're made out of a super thin, lightweight plastic. Mm-hmm. They do have a metal frame. And this is what you click into place. But I make actual shelves and I use the flat part as displays. Mm-hmm. And what I like about this is I don't have to set up every time. It's already done. The shit's glued down. Like this is not coming off.
And for people that are just listening, she has a bunch of LGBTQ plus pins, and
I keep forgetting that people just listen to podcasts. Right. I'm sorry, guys. This is why I'm not award winning. This is why Heather wins the awards.
That's why I get paid the big bucks. So she has it all organized really, really well, and that's really nice because you can super glue it and then you don't have to worry about it. And it's still fairly lightweight and it packs really well. She did that with only the very flat stuff because she has other things that she puts up that we do need to assemble when we're there, but that's flat and can, stick in a suitcase easier. All right, continue.
Yeah. Let me continue on my rant of forgetting that people listen. So when you assemble these, you can make them as tall or as short as you want. What I liked about them is these come in like a million colors. I did white because my stuff is so colorful. I wanted it to speak for itself. But you do see a lot of artists that will travel with sometimes loud noise. They travel with like actual like panels and stuff. And you have to think about how heavy that is, especially if you're by yourself. Yeah. So I put everything into a slightly oversized a suitcase, and I'll send a video of this so that we can put it online because I actually had to be trained by my PT on how to pick it up and put it down without hurting myself because it's very heavy. You also have to think about when you're traveling as far as flying, there is a rate for bags that are 50 pounds and under of a certain size and shape. There's a rate for over 50 pounds or in different shapes and sizes. So when you're thinking about cost, because it's so expensive to travel, or even if you're doing things like, hey, I need to be picked up at the airport. Most Lyft drivers have a 4-door sedan. Will this fit in their trunk? Mm-hmm. These are things that you have to think about on how you're going to make it work. Yeah. So I build my booth out of those panels. Now they're still pretty heavy. What I travel with is probably about 27 pounds to make my booth, that just the panels. Yeah. But the panels also provide me with shelving and ways to store. Because like I said, a lot of times the inline booths for artists, we're starting in, we have no storage behind us. We only have underneath our table. And a lot of times people get really close to your table and kick stuff from underneath because all it is a little curtain in front of you.
Yeah.
So, you have to really work with your space. And if you have good neighbors, you figure out a way to share or adjust. If you have bad neighbors, they'll encroach on you like the freaking blob. So, and they're not supposed to. There's rules. Like when you actually sign up for everything, they send you contracts and tell you how things should be and how to not be a jackass, but you're still going to have the jackassery.
Right. And there's ways to handle that. And we will cover that in another episode of, being a good neighbor and all that kind of crap. But yeah, continue.
And how to not set them on fire when they're driving you nuts. Yeah. So as far as the initial booth build, it's there. And I do 2 sides and a front. And unless there's something in the contract says I can't put stuff on the sides, I put stuff on the sides. And then the entire booth, I have 1 banner that I had printed at Office Max, I think. Office Max, if you want to produce an episode, please reach out to us.
Oh, yes. Please email us at talkbehindthebooth@gmail.com, and we will you will be our sponsors, and we would love to have you as a sponsor. Well, that was a horrible pitch.
You're like, yeah, we're not going to sponsor you guys.
No, they're not.
So I think I spent around $15 on it, and it rolls up. It's super light, and I just stick it with that putty. It's like a wall putty, and it doesn't leave
sticky tack. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember what it's called. I do not have any over here by my table, but it's definitely something that you can use without damaging your wall. It's how I put up all my fish. Not that I'm a renter. I do own this place, but when I sell it, I want to sell it so that way it looks nice.
Yeah.
So you have those types of things so that you can easily put things up, take them down. I use little clips to hold things up if possible. But again, I try to make as much of it out of, and this is terrible for the environment, but I find things that are plastic or wooden because they don't weigh as much as metal. And that's every ounce will count. I promise you, because when you go to check your bag, if it is over 50 pounds, even by a percentage, a tiny little, if it goes from 50.1, you're done. Like they will not accept it. You got to take something out.
Yeah.
Or you need to pay $100 to maybe even $150, depending on the airline, for that extra tiny little amount.
Yep.
So as much as you can do to not pack that heavy, the better. Right. Another way to get around that with baggage is you usually get a carry-on and a personal item. So I have a backpack that is my personal item where I put all of my like clothes and all the stuff that I need to survive. And then my carry-on, I put more product in it. And I can get about, they usually say 35 pounds. Don't exceed that. And plus when you have to put an overhead bin and you're not, like The Rock.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Wow.
Right?
I feel old now.
Yeah. Best love story in the world was the first Terminator. I'm saying it. That's how I feel.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. But when you're putting it up above you, like 35 pounds is very heavy. And I'm short. I'm 5'3". At least I consider that to be pretty short when there's people on the airline that are like 5'10". They're like, can I help you? I'm like, I have pride, but yes, I also don't want to like dislocate my elbow again. So please. Also, the flight attendants are not allowed to help you. If they get injured before the flight takes off, their insurance doesn't cover it. So that's why they don't help you anymore.
Makes sense.
So, and they don't get paid until the craft takes off either. So it's kind of crazy. At least that's how it has been when I've talked to the flight attendants.
Wow.
Recently,
okay, that's a whole other thing. Okay, back to
it. So be nice to them. Don't be dicks.
Be nice
okay, be nice to them. So as far as putting things in the booth, everything has a logical place. So one of the things that I do is I give out all of our product in bags that are mesh, because I don't want to use plastic bags. Because we do so much work with Sea Turtle Rescue and things like that, we don't add to the clutter. But the reusable bags, they're light, they're cute. Here's one of them. They're like little airy, and I got the white ones. So that way the colors of the thing popped out, and people love getting these. You'll see a lot of vendors actually hand those out in different sizes. And they love them. And they're also, if the kid's small enough that I hand stuff to, I can put it around the wrist and they feel like a princess or like the coolest guy from like D&D ever, like bag of holding, right?
The string ties where you like pull the strings on either side and they like whoop, like
it's a little zip tie. Yeah. It does a thing.
I was gonna say something bad. Continue.
So just for those of you that are watching this podcast, what she was demonstrating was it goes from open to zipped, like so. And then we put this on their tiny little wrists, and it's cute. but I think your voiceover was much better for what we did. So I have a lot of those. And if you've ever used them or done something with like wedding packing of those stupid little almonds,
Oh
they go
gosh, yeah.
everywhere and they're
Mhm.
slippery. And so I got a silicone Kleenex box that compresses like one of those billows that you use on a fireplace.
Or an
Now I feel
accordion.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like all Weird Al style with the accordion. Like
Oh,
they
there you
do
go.
this.
Yes.
And so you pack it and then put the lid on it, and the lid's plastic. And then you just pull them out one at a time, and it makes it very functional to, okay, would you like a bag? Grab the bag, put the stuff in it, and move on. I also use, this is so embarrassing, but I use a lot of stuff that you organize your closets with because of the size of the squares. A
Mhm.
lot of that closet organizational stuff fits.
Yeah.
And so the ones that I found, and Heather about flipped when I showed it to her the first time. They look compressed, and then you open them up and they make a box shape, and then they have a zipper, and
Mhm.
you zip it up, and it makes little like pockets almost that you can organize stuff in.
Yeah.
So we use it for the stencils. We're using for the pride pins. This is something new that I did with the pride pins. I'll show these.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of this. So these are little like jewelry necklace holders that I'm holding. They're long. They're about, I think, 8 inches. And I went to the dollar store and found popsicle sticks. And so to make them rigid so I can show people, here's your options for the pride pins because they're very heavy. I just like alligator clip them
There you
on top of a
go.
little popsicle stick. And then these sit in what's basically a sock holder. It's a sock drawer organizer that goes in to the little cube, and these are in there. So that way I
Oh
can
my
easily
gosh.
just grab one out. And it's something because they're on there with an alligator clip, when I run out, I take the clip off, put the next one in that's already filled.
Yeah.
And then go back to, okay, which one would you like? Because a lot of times you have to do things one-handed.
Yeah.
And that's hard, and especially when they're all floopsy. Like this is not floopsy. So
Yes.
I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going with it. Floopsy.
It works.
So
Well, guys,
everything
this
you-
is stuff I haven't seen yet. Like the last week I was at, they were still floopsy. So that's why I'm going, oh, they look so good.
Yeah, a lot of my organizational stuff will come from the dollar store, actually, because it's a budget thing that I can do. Also,
Yeah.
dollar store, if you want to sponsor an episode, please reach out to us.
Talk behind the booth at gmail.com.
We're going to get a sponsor. Watch,
totally
it's
are.
going to happen. But I find it there, a lot of times it's cheaply made. It's ultra light, and you can get a fairly good quantity of them because a lot of us are selling lots of products or variations on products. So we need a way to display them and make it look, because the nicer your display is, the more you can obviously charge for your item.
Yeah.
So I love this example that they do. So when you go to like a burger joint and they hand you your food in a brown paper bag, you pay a certain amount for that presentation. You go to a 5-star restaurant, they could serve you the exact same burger, but because it comes on a plate with a garnish and silverware, you pay more because of presentation.
Mhm.
Now, there's a whole science to this. I've read several books about it. Those people can also sponsor an episode, and I'll talk about your book. But it's all about what people perceive as value. And so if you have a nice setup, if you look professional in your setup, people will pay what you're asking at these events. I also made little price tags that I stick to the actual panels themselves, so I don't have to restick everything. And it's already listed as what it is.
Mhm.
And so people can see what you're charging.
They are still
It's
going
not that
to
it's-
ask, but
Go
they
for
can
it.
see it. I said they are still going to ask. They're still
Yeah,
going to
they're
be
still
like,
gonna
how much
ask.
is, how much? Like it says it like 10 times, but okay.
Mhm. And some people will read it. So I have little signs all over my booth that say, yes, you can touch. And people still ask me if they can touch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, go for it. You can touch anything you want on the table.
Yeah.
But when you have a price tag that says, like, one of our items, our pins are $7, but we'll say like, yeah, they're 7 each, or you can do 2 for 11. And I don't have anything that says 2 for 11 on there, but it's another way for me to interact and talk to the person.
Mhm.
And it will increase the sale. And that's a whole other episode about how to display your items, as well as how to make it sound like they're getting a benefit out of the price difference.
Yeah.
So, but I have everything very well listed. Now, mine is all in English because that is my first language, and most of the places I go to are English speaking, but I also know how to tell them my prices in the foreign languages of the places I'm visiting.
Mhm.
So when we go to Canada, I will be speaking French. I don't know French yet. I have 3 months to learn French, and it's going pretty well. But being prepared to be able to speak in those other languages and adjust my price tags, I'm probably going to have to get some that are for Canadian currency.
Right. Yeah. All right. And other things that Jade also does with her booth, because she'll have a sheet also that she can cover her product when we're out for the night. Because these places will have security. You won't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, my stuff's gonna get stolen. I mean, it might, but like that will be something that you can't really help. But if people can't see it, they most likely won't take it. So just a light sheet to put that. She also used to be a photographer as well, so she does have a backdrop. And she brings that as well, and it was light blue. It was so pretty. I don't know if you bring that on planes. You brought that when we went to Albuquerque.
Yes,
but it looks
I have one
pretty.
on planes now too. It's a lighter version of that. And there's kind of like a vendor's honor code too. Like we don't steal from each other. Like it's just kind of something that we just know. Now, is there somebody out there that's tried it? Absolutely. And I talked to somebody at an event recently in Albuquerque. Someone had stolen a bunch of product and they caught it on camera. And that person has been officially blackballed from every event ever.
So don't do it, guys. Not worth it.
No. And they stole almost $100,000 worth of things. They were able to recover all of that stuff.
Oh, I'm so
glad.
And
that person got blackballed. Now there's a whole other episode that we can cover about insurance, what it can do, how to go about it, and what we did to cover ourselves. But that will help with product loss, especially in situations like your bags got lost or somebody stole from you. And that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, but as for a booth setup, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will have pictures of it along with the video because we also have a YouTube channel. If you're just listening, we do have a YouTube channel so you can get some visuals. We will, Jade, are we able to get Amazon links for this stuff or anything like that? Anything that you bought online?
We will see if our affiliate links are available, but there are definitely places that you can get these things. You can go anywhere from your local Target, Walmart to Amazon. I personally use Amazon, but it's because I'm an introvert and I don't like to shop. I don't like to be around other people. Ironically, that I do, booths and things like this. But yeah, and I also want my stuff to match. Like I said, almost everything on my booth is white as far as holding my product because the products themselves are brightly colored.
Right.
I guess the last thing that I will say that has been one of my best parts of my display are they're called spice risers. And it's what I put down on the front of my table to put little things out. So like squishies or anything tactile that people can touch. And it has them in nice little rows. They're super light. They're really hard to break. Believe me, I've tried. And they collapse into each other. So there are a lot of choices on things like that. So check out your kitchen gadgets, check out, things for closet organization. You will find some great ways to store your product and save yourself like time, space, and obviously poundage when it comes to an airplane.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking for any suggestions, please reach out to us. We are Behind the Booth or Talk Behind the Booth pretty much everywhere. And our email is talkbehindthebooth@gmail.com. If you have questions about any of these things or even suggestions on how we could do it better, when you see our visuals and be like, hey, actually, I have a product that would be better for you, please let us know. But anyways, thank you so much for coming to this episode. I hope you learned some. And yeah, we'll see you again next week.
And a special thank you to Nerdy Girl Podcast for sponsoring this episode. And we'll see you next time.